Namaste. So, I'm back from my 2 months meditation retreat. And I have a lot of inspiration and tons of material. So, the direction of this channel is going to change a bit. Last 2 or 3 years, we've been going into the Vedantic teachings, Advaita Vedanta, and especially Ramana Maharshi's teachings. But now we're going to shift and go back to the Buddha's teaching as a platform. And I've already mentioned why, because of Buddha's concept of timelessness versus the Vedic concept of eternity. We're going to go into that distinction very deeply because it's crucial. It's critical for understanding one thing. How is it that Buddha's teaching, after Buddha left, attained parinibbāna, how was his teaching able to go on creating arhants for over 1,000 years? I mean mass production of thousands of arhants. If you take a look at other teachings, for example, Ramana Maharshi's teaching, within one generation after Ramana Maharshi attained Mahasamadhi, left his body, it has basically degenerated into an ordinary dualistic cult. And they changed the teaching. Instead of Advaita, now it's Neo-Advaita. And we've gone into all this in previous episodes, previous series. But what does it mean? It means that something about the way Ramana communicated his teaching to his disciples did not empower them to not only reach enlightenment themselves, but also pass the teaching on to their own students. Instead, the teaching got changed to fit their level of realization. And some of these people are just no better than merchants, you know. So, Ramana Maharshi was certainly enlightened. There's no doubt about it. But why he wasn't able to pass his teaching on to others effectively? Whereas Buddha, his disciples went on creating arhants for over 1,000 years. Now it's slowly degenerating, and arhants are rare, few and far between. But there's so many historical evidences that Buddha's teaching remained potent for a very long time. Why? Well, we went into some of the reasons for it in our early series, Apophatic Anti-Fragility. That the reason for the Buddha's teaching having such potency and longevity was the fact that he did not directly describe nibbana. He always talked around it. And so you were left to discover it for yourself. Opanayiko, come and see. That's one of the 6 qualities of Buddha's teaching. Ehipasiko, means come and see. Opanayiko means you can realize it in the present, here and now. In fact, you can only realize it here and now. So, the Buddha's teaching, because of these ontological structures, the way he set it up, was much longer-lived than any other teaching I'm aware of. I mean, let's take the example of another Advaita Vedanta realized soul, Chandrasekharendra Sarasvati, the Kanchi Sankaracharya, recently deceased. And his group has also degenerated into really Hindu chauvinist fanaticism. I mean, somebody like me, a very sincere seeker with a long history, they won't even talk to me. The leader of their group, local group, once said to me straight up, "We have no interest in associating with Westerners." Come on. This is caste. See, jati. Huh? These kind of beliefs indicate that their teaching has crashed. And it's not producing enlightened beings. Now there may be some obscure, unknown disciples off in a corner somewhere who have attained, but because they don't meet the group's criteria for being famous, they remain obscure. It's quite possible. Jnanananda, my teacher in Sri Lanka, was like that. Unless you happen to be a member of a certain in-group, you would never hear about him, because the Buddhist establishment saw no gain in promoting him as being an arhat. In fact, they saw all kinds of problems because he was way more realized than them. And he was also pointing out so many flaws in what they were teaching, the orthodox understanding of the Buddha's suttas. So, you see, the actual realized beings in this day and age are going to be obscure. They're going to be hard to find. They're going to be difficult to recognize, because an actual realized being is unpretentious. Somebody with a big ego is easy to spot, easy to recognize or identify as being a big teacher or something. But what about somebody with no ego? They're going to act just like an ordinary person, like my sannyas guru. My sannyas guru was just such a regular guy. That's why I loved him so much. He never put on any kind of airs, that, oh, I'm the big sannyasi or something like this. He was always just a regular guy, completely unpretentious, humble, and friendly. So a person like this doesn't get recognized. Even among his peers in Tiruvannamalai, nobody recognized that he was enlightened except me. Oh, and his one other disciple. So this is going to happen in the current climate, the current social climate, the current religious climate, and the state of the self-realization, the understanding of self-realization. Because self-realization has come to be associated with big temples, lots of followers, fame, money, power, and so on. If you become enlightened, then you become Jesus Christ and start the Catholic Church. Well, Jesus didn't start the Catholic Church. He had 12 disciples. That's all. So, other people started the Catholic Church in his name. And we have a similar situation with Ramana Maharshi and so on. Why? Because the ontology, the background understanding, the model of reality that they use is flawed. It's inclined towards the understanding, or I should say maybe the misunderstanding, of an unrealized person. You see? People adjust teachings to fit their own level of realization. This happened to me. It happens to everybody. It happened to me on this issue of eternality versus timelessness. For the longest time, I interpreted the Buddhist teaching as eternalistic. I didn't understand the distinction between his eternalism, between Vedic eternalism and Buddha's timelessness, akalika. And because of that, I misunderstood so many things about Buddha's teaching. Of course, Jnanananda, he tried to set me right from our very first meeting. He said, Nibbana is non-conceptual. In other words, you can't conceive it as a mental image or model. It's beyond that. Gate, parigate, parisamgate, bodhisvaha. That the Buddha went, where did he go? He went beyond. Where is that? He went beyond. He went so beyond that there's no more concept of beyond. See? So this is Nibbana. And Nibbana is actually a superior view than Vedic samadhi or eternalism. And we're going to start a series. I'm working on all the graphics and stuff now, getting the tools together to present it the right way, because it's so important that you get it right. I missed for so long, and I missed getting the benefits of the proper concept of timelessness, akalika, versus eternalism, sanatana. So because of that, I want to make sure that those who follow this channel also get the right idea in the right way. Because looking at the comments, I get so many comments from people who don't get these subtle points, and I can see it. But if I try to reply to them, they can't get it. And the reason is the lack of background, the lack of proper understanding of things like time, space, energy, meaning, and so on. We devoted quite a bit of effort in the beginning of this channel to discussing ontology. Ontology is the science of meaning, or you could even say the meaning of meaning. The science of sciences. Why is that? Because, as I'll repeat what the Buddha said, no scope for becoming outside of language. Beings are established on the named. So if something can't be named, we can't deal with it. We have to make it into an object that we can grasp, either mentally or physically. So the way we do that is by assigning it a name, making a language, making a model with words or other terminology such as mathematics. So without having a name for something, there's no way you can grasp it. See? You can't grasp reality. Why? Because reality is a single nameless whole. Just look at this beautiful scene behind me. Is there a word for this? No. It's too complex. Look at all the details, all the thousands of leaves on these trees, so much stuff going on, the shape of the mountain and everything like that. There's no words for this. You can only grasp it as a gestalt, as psychologists would say. A group of simultaneous impressions. And Buddha also has a concept of gestalt. It's called name, nama. What Buddha calls name is actually 5 things: attention, intention, perception, feelings, and consciousness. Isn't it? When we look at this scene, we get a certain feeling. Can we name that feeling? No. No. Can we name all the separate impressions that we get from looking at this? No. Huh? What about our intention? Our intention in looking at it. What about our attention? And finally, at consciousness. What about what level of consciousness are we on when we look at this? That's going to determine what we see, how we experience it, and so forth. So the Buddha called this name, these 5 factors. And then we assign a name and say, oh, that's Arunachala. But that really is only the surface. I mean, literally, it's only the surface of the thing. It's not the deep understanding of his essence. So anyway, we're going to be going into these topics in great depth and detail. And I hope you stay with us and continue to watch this series, because it's going to blow your mind and totally change the way you look at things forever. Buddhu Saranai.